Seamus Walsh is 5. He has a heart disease which can be cured, but he has something else which seems to be beyond us. He's poor. He's one of the people the means test talk is all about. His family is one of the 345,000 whose poverty has beaten the welfare state. From next month, the Walshes will get an extra 30 shillings family allowance, which will make Seamus and his brothers and sisters each richer by 4pence a day. Will that finally solve their problem? Tonight's programme is about a few of the 1,100,000 British children who are the born losers. This is where the Walshes live. The house in a suburb of Manchester was built in 1887 and is not scheduled for demolition. The rent is £2.12 and 6pence a week for 5 unfurnished rooms into which the Walshes have put the bare necessities and some of the tokens of respectability the poor can afford, like a tuneless piano, a pictureless television set, and a soundless radio. It's home to Bill and Pat Walsh and their family.
There is Bridget, is 12, William, 11, there's Sarah, is 10, Bernard is 8, Patricia is 7, Sandra is 6, Seamus is 5, there's Tony, that's 2, and Michael, 1, 9.
And there's Ernie. He isn't one of the family, but another on the threadbare edge of the welfare state. He found the Walshes would tolerate him and his music, so he comes to their home almost daily. Pat Walsh is 31. She married 11 years ago and has had 10 children. 1 died on an open kitchen fire, and the 11th is almost due. To bring up a family that big, the government says the Walshes need £21 11 shillings a week and their rent. And for the last 2 years, Bill Walsh worked in a deep freeze and took home about £10 15 shillings for his efforts. Even with family allowances, that meant the Walshes had only enough money to spend less than a shilling per head per meal if they'd spent all they had on food. And Bill Walsh was working. Today he's out of work and gets £13 8 and 6pence a week unemployment benefit. Even with next month's increase in family allowances, the Walshes will still be £6 17 shillings below the official poverty line for a family of their size. For the affluent, it's comforting to say that poverty is the consequence of being idle, worthless and good for nothing, that the poor's condition is their own fault.
Well, poverty might be our own fault, but I wouldn't say we're idle or worthless. My last job I was in it for over 2 years, and I had to work from 7 in the morning to 7 at night time, so I don't think that's idleness.
But you're now out of a job, and the state is expected to keep you in order to feed you and the children and pay the rent and so on. Do you think this is fair?
Well, it's just one of those things.
But why should the rest of the taxpayers keep somebody like you and your children?
I don't know.
Not knowing is one of the real problems of the poor. Bill's own childhood wasn't one designed to overcome ignorance. 30 years ago, he was a child much like his own children. His father was an Irish guardsman too badly wounded in the First World War ever to work again. Bill followed his father into the Guards. He trooped the colour with his regiment and stood at attention in a Busby hat outside Buckingham Palace. He left the army without a skill, took an unskilled job, and married an Irish girl.
I was engaged to a fellow, but he was a Protestant from Hastings. And my father and mother objected to the wedding because he was a Protestant. He was English. Then I met Bill in London. So I couldn't write naturally, so he had to send back the ring. I couldn't send it back. I could have everything I wanted today. I mightn't ended up with so many kids.
But Pat did as she was told and married a Catholic, and she's had 10 children. Pat and Bill Walsh are poor, and they always will be. But can their children be prevented from becoming the next generation of poor, from growing up to be like their parents? Will an extra 4pence a day see to that? If they're not to wind up in the same boat as their mother and father, they'll have to learn 2 things: how to earn more money and how to have less children. Living in one of Britain's 2 million slums hasn't given them much of a start, and the winter is worse.
Oh, it'd freeze you. It was like the cold was wicked. It was that damp. The kids used to freeze in there at night time and go to bed. Couldn't sleep from the cold many a time. And you couldn't put a fire in the room because there was no fireplace in one room. It was broke and we couldn't afford the coal then.
Well, I used to go out collecting wood for my mum. And,
collecting what?
Wood.
Yeah.
For my mum. And it was, my hands were cold, and so I had to go over all across. And there was a big fire, and I went to warm my hands. And so when I warmed my hands, I come home with the pram of wood and gave it to my mum. And then my mum said, can you go and get another pram full?
There was holes in the boards, you know, the cellar was coming up through the boards, which we had to nail them down, you know.
That home cost the Walshes £3 a week. A few months ago they moved, next door to their present house, which is in a slightly better state of repair. It has more windows and fewer holes.
I'm very proud of this house because this is the first house we've ever lived in. From the time we got married until now, we've been living in rooms. Well, I've papered downstairs and painted it and done some plastering on it. Painted the outside, put in some windows and that. I'm waiting on some lino for the front room. I feel this is the very first step, the very first chance I've had since I got married to improve my way of living in the line of accommodation.
Would you like to live in a council house?
Yes, at that time I would have liked to live in a council house, but since we got this house, it's in good repair, this house, and I wouldn't like to leave it now.
I like to live in a flat.
Why a flat?
Because I can have a room of my own.
Do you have a room of your own now?
No.
How many people do you share your room with?
3.
Yeah.
2. And me, 3.
This house is better than the rooms they were in, but it's not just the room that Willie shares with his brothers, it's the bed too. It's from a house and a way of life like this that these children have to go out and face the world. The idea that these boys have a reasonable chance in life is wishful thinking. Equality of opportunity, as far as they're concerned, is a myth. Poverty breeds poverty, and that's the cycle they have to stop. But the gap between the world of 4 to a bed and the world of decent wages is a big one. The children say they've never been in a better house than this.
My dad done it all up, and my mama, and all we need is to put that window in.
They're proud of it, but from birth it affects their lives. Michael is only a year old, but half of that year he spent in hospital, almost killed by the conditions he lived in.
Well, when Michael came home, he started to throw up his bottle, you know, get sick. It was very cold for him in the house. That caused the illness, tubercular pneumonia. And in the 9 days crisis, I went to W pneumonia, which Michael had been in for 5 months.
He survived and came back to this kind of world.
You're a right little blackie, no joking. And yeah, who's a blackie every night getting washed?
It's thorough, but wouldn't be recommended by the women's magazines. The hard green household soap is carved with a kitchen knife. The towel is someone else's old pyjama jacket. Curiously enough, living conditions like these aren't considered bad. In England alone, there are 732,398 houses unfit for human habitation, and this isn't even one of them.
Turn around.
Tony!
The kids are very happy in themselves. I don't think you could look after them as well as if you had, say, 2 or 3 kids. we've had an accident with Sarah. She got some matches on the mantelpiece one morning when she got up early, and her dress caught fire with her striking the matches, and she got very badly burned. Only for the doctors being so good in Booth Hall Hospital, where she went, I'm afraid she'd be dead today.
Once she had an older sister, Josie.
My wife slipped out of the shop one day, and when she came back, the child was very badly burned. They took her to the hospital, where she died shortly after.
Well, if I wasn't looking after them properly, well, the authorities would have taken them off me, wouldn't they? If they were undernourished, or they weren't getting enough, they'd be taken off me, surely. If the children are quite happy, the way they are, there's no one going to give them better, is there, really? Only what I give them.
After rent has been paid, nearly all the family income goes on food. It has to. Each mouth eats about 13 shillings worth a week. And that's about half what the Home Office allows for prisoners' food. Bread and jam, baked beans and chips, and sometimes a sausage, is the diet of over 1 million children in Britain today. Newspapers offer eating off rather than reading. The Walsh children eat 7p each a meal.
I pawned my wedding ring, and I couldn't afford to get it out. But now it doesn't bother me. It's been so long off my finger. I got 50 shillings, because it was 22, goes by the carat. He was out to work, and I was waiting on the dole money, and I was stuck at the time. So I wouldn't have enough for the children unless I pawned my ring. And if I didn't pawn the wedding ring, I wouldn't have nothing for them. So I pawned the wedding ring to get their tea. Yeah.
Well, we manage with what we've got.
Would you like more?
Yeah.
Why? What would you spend it on?
My mum has it.
What would you spend it on if you had more?
I don't know. She spend it on food and clothes.
Anything else?
Yeah. What?
Is there anything that you have to do without because you don't have enough money?
I don't know. Don't think so.
Is there nothing that you'd like to have that you can't afford to buy?
No.
Ooh, short of everything. We'd have plenty to eat. So it's the clothes is the worst of it. Clothes, poverty is mostly, to me, clothes. Not having enough clothes.
When did you last have a new suit?
Ooh, I think when I got married. Oh, wait a minute, I had a suit since then. About 3 years ago. That was a cheap one, though. It only cost £4.10.
£4.10?
Yeah. So the lights, one of those light suits, £4.10 it cost. And I didn't have a suit since, only odd trousers and pullovers and that, you know, coats. Shoes are very dear. Cost about £1 a piece, a pair of shoes. So I think for a start off we'd buy some more shoes for the kids. And the boys' clothes are dear. Trousers and jacket and that. Though the girls' clothes aren't so bad, you can get a frock for about 8 or 10 bob. Because the shoes are the worst thing. They're very dear.
Number 1, 1.
All right then, all right then. I'm all right now. Seem to be all right now, later.
Did I?
Yeah. Oh, that's a little bit loose and too tight, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it is really.
Yeah.
Left his feet.
You want them ones then? Yeah. Well, they never get to holiday, really. Kids never go anywhere. They've never been to Blackpool or, you know, they've never been to Bellevue or anywhere like that because they can't afford it. Never had enough to take them there. take them an outing. I couldn't afford to take them.
I think last year was the first year I ever had a holiday since I got married. Though we didn't leave Cheetham ill. I had a week off from work. That, because I had very little pocket money.
Do you ever go to the cinema?
I used to, but I don't go now.
And you don't have a television set of your own?
I've got a television, but it's not working. You know, it's broke. Only the wireless, that's all.
And it doesn't work very well?
No, it doesn't, no. It's a very old one.
Their contact with the outside world is small, their understanding of it none, nor do they know what we expect of them. They don't understand the causes of their poverty any more than what to do about it. Contraception for 7p a meal families becomes a luxury they can't afford.
Well, at times when I think back on my life now, I blame myself for having so many kids. I think we could have a better life, me and my wife, if we had a small family, give more to kids and that, if we didn't have so many. I wished I'd only 3 or 4 or something like that. I'm sorry I've had all this money.
Have you ever considered using birth control?
I've never been to a birth control clinic yet.
Have you ever considered going to one?
No.
Your wife might have another 10 children if she keeps going on at the present rate. Are you looking forward to that?
I hope not. I hope she don't have 10 more kids.
It could happen though, couldn't it? I mean, she's only 31 now.
Yes. It could happen, for there's only 13 months between some of our kids. There's only 13 months between them.
Does that worry you?
Yes, it does worry me.
That you're going to end up at the age of 50 with not 9 children, but 20 children?
Well, that'll never happen. This is our last one, definitely.
And what steps are you taking to make sure that it's the last one?
Well, we'll have to talk about it very seriously this time.
Why have you never thought of using birth control over all these years?
I've never really bothered, really.
Is it against your principles, or?
In the Catholic religion, it is.
Before we got married, we used to visit the priest. Well, we visited him a couple of times. And he told us that we mustn't try to stop having children, use any method to stop us having children.
What would you advise your children about sex and marriage?
Well, I hope by that time that they'll know for themselves, with having gone to better schools than I went to when I was their age. I hope they'll find out for themselves.
But you won't tell them?
Well, I can't broach the subject at all. I've tried to, but I can't do it.
Why not?
I don't know why not. I just can't tell them about it. For I mean, so they're only kids after all. And I just can't tell them about it.
The children get on top of me sometimes. I walk out, you know, walk out the yard for a bit till I cool off. Then I come back in again. I'm all right in a few minutes. If I'm left alone for a few minutes, I'm all right. Gets on top of me. I mean, it's a lot with all those kids in the morning. I have them all day, really, when I come home from school. Till about 9:30 at night time.
If Pat's is not much of a life, in some ways Bill's is totally pointless. The Walshes are entitled to £21 11 shillings a week plus rent. Bill could never earn that as a wage and doesn't get it when he's unemployed because of the wages stop, a government measure to goad him back to work and prevent him being better off unemployed. The only way the family could get the full rate would be for them to get rid of Bill. His presence costs them dear, about £7 per week. Whether or not he works, they'd be better off without him.
No, have you got labouring?
Yeah, 11.
No. Come back Friday and like this start for you.
Friday?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. Well, of course, you're happier when you're working. I don't like to be on this thing. On the dole, I mean. I'd rather be working. Much happier. Getting up in the morning and going to work. Instead of staying about the house all day.
Bill Walsh has been out of work for 2 months. Each Friday he collects his dole, but he doesn't know how much is due or how the benefits are worked out.
Do you know how the amounts are arrived at? How they calculate them?
No, I don't.
Have you ever asked?
No. Never have.
Why not?
Well, I feel like begging when I'm getting what I'm getting anyway. So I'll just take it and go.
The October increase in family allowance will help, but it won't wipe out the Walsh's problem. They'll still be poor. 4p a day won't teach them how to look after themselves, and it won't teach the other 345,000 poor families this either. Now they're happy, but while we talk about what to do with them, they're growing up. Daily, doors are being closed to them.
Willie, why do you think you go to school? Why is it important to go to school?
Because they learn you about religion, arithmetic and science and geography. And
Why is it
English.
important to learn about those? Do you know? How much of what the teacher tells you do you understand?
Yeah,
You understand everything, huh?
yeah.
It's children like these who need the best schooling. Are they getting it? Can they take advantage of it, or will they too marry skillless and virtually schoolless? What jobs will they do in a world that will have even less demand for unskilled labourers than ours? Little things. They have teeth now. Will they still have them at 31? Or will they become the parents of children for whom we'll feel sorry? Will we blame them when they are parents? It's an unanswerable problem. Child poverty action groups are formed over it, cabinet ministers resign over it, and we make programmes about it. Pat says that it's God's will that they're poor, and if it's his will, they'll be rich, which seems to be about it.
Things are starting to look a bit better now with us getting this house. It's the best one we've had. And I could see a bit of hope now that I didn't see before. The kids are better, happier, settled in at school. And the younger kids that's at home seem happy and contented. I hope to be cleverer than I was. I look like being cleverer now. I hope for a start-up they don't get married until they find a house. And I hope they get some money saved up before they get married. And start up married life right, with a bit of planning gone into it and that, thinking, without dashing mad up into marriage without thinking, what I did do. I like to grow up to be something in industry, like maybe a policeman, something like that, one of the boys. Maybe the girls, maybe want to be a nurse or something like that. Though Bridget, my oldest girl, she's keen to work in a shop, be a shop assistant.
Whatever they'd want to be, I wouldn't stop them in any way, you know. Whatever they choose they want to be, I wouldn't go in the way and stopping them what they want to be.
When I joined the army,
Why?
because I like it.
What will you do when you join the army? What kind of things will you do?
I go hunting and I shoot in.
What are you going to shoot?
You shoot rabbits.
In the army, you shoot rabbits, huh? Do you shoot anything else other than rabbits in the army?
Well, I don't know. Anyway, I've not seen the army yet, but my dad says that you shoot rabbits.
Do you know what an apprentice is?
Apprentice. I've never heard of that.
An apprentice.
No, I never heard of it.
I hope they have more have a better chance now than what I had.
What are you doing to help them, to give them that better chance? Is there anything that you can do?
Well, what can you do? Only send them to school. Hope for the best.